I do emphasize to a young photographer that, to begin with, stick close to home and photograph the people that will put up with you so you can see what's possible, with what you do. And I think you'll get, kind of wonderful results faster than starting to photograph people in portraiture that you don't know. There's some photographs here of my grandmother. You see my grandmother's house in Waterbury, Connecticut. It was a formative Victorian. It was kind of in a rough neighborhood, and she was always having some problems. And then there's a photograph of my grandmother at her stove. My mother always was filming, and I'm saying goodbye to her at Dulles Airport and going back out to the West Coast. That's a pretty classic picture of my mother with a camera in front of her face, an 8mm camera. And my father didn't talk to me much, but whenever I was in the car with him, he would start telling me something. I think he enjoyed driving, and that was his moment. He would talk to me. There was this wonderful little sitting with my mother when I was just beginning to work for Rolling Stone magazine. And I went home to see my family during the summer, and they were at a bungalow colony upstate, and there was an old overgrown tennis wall there. And I asked my mother if I could take her photograph. My mother was a dancer, and I asked her if I could photograph her dancing. And she did a small dance, against that wall. It was a very moving sitting because for the first time, my mother was a dancer and I was a photographer. It was beautiful to see my mother in another context, than being my mother. My parents were sort of wonderful characters, and they were wonderful to photograph. Not only didn't they mind, but they didn't care. So it was fine to take photographs at any time. After Susan Sontag, died, I, was looking for a photograph of Susan, and I didn't think I had a very good picture of Susan. And I just came across all this work of mine over the years that I just continued to do. And I was so taken with the story, which was every man's story, because at the same time, my children were being born, my father died, I have this kind of eccentric, crazy family. It was kind of wonderful to put those pictures, together and be so open about it. Nothing could have stopped me at that moment. I think it was, those are probably my most powerful pictures, for my lifetime. And I think that when I look at that juxtaposition of the assignment work to the personal work, what I love about photographer's life is that is really, truly being a photographer. That both those aspects are there. And I am furious when there has to be this idea that there's one style or one idea coming out of a photographer. And it's interesting to me how both those worlds, the assignment world and the personal world, sort of fed each other, and how they overlap and what they mean. And it's to me it's definitely my my best work. I think a rite of passage for any photographer to really photograph the people that will put up with them, the people close to you. It will probably be the most rewarding work you do. And it may never be published, but it's the work that you should care about and embrace.
I'm Miles. I'm really interested in the idea of like mourning culture and what it is to look at an image after somebody's passed away, and
After somebody's passed away.
what it's like to take an image, knowing that that the image will outlast the person.
So you've had an experience where someone went on,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
Who was it?
My grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much time did you spend with her?
She had Alzheimer's for 4 years.
Yeah.
A lot of the moments kind of got away from me. It felt like I was invading like such a private and personal moment where I have a lot of these images, but it's hard to share them. I know, in a photographer's life,
yeah.
it was hard for you to share those images, and I was kind of wondering if you had kept any for yourself, because I tend to do that.
Nothing could have stopped me from putting that work together and publishing it. Nothing. I mean, I was like obsessed, you know, and I sobbed all the way through it. When Photographer's Life came out, there were so many people who came up to me, photographers, and said, you know, I was really scared to photograph, you know, like my mother or my father, or that they, you know, and Photographer's Life gave them you know, the strength to feel like they should go ahead and do it. We're driven as photographers, you know. We just have to take photographs, you know. It's what we do. I hope, you know. That's the best thing about this period in your lives is photographing the people who will put up with you, your friends and your family, and that's why your grandmother is so important. I sometimes feel my work could have been that, you know, because I love my family so much, and I love that work because it's so intimate and so personal. The photograph that has raised the bar for me, which is I know is going to be sort of an impossible bar to reach, you know, in the kind of work that I do, because I'm sort of going in and out fairly fast in people's lives, is the photograph of my mother, the portrait of my mom. And I look at it and I realize it looks like, you know, like it looks like the camera's not even there. Because she's looking straight at me. She doesn't see, I don't know how she doesn't see the camera, but it's as if the camera's not there. She looked at me and she said, I don't want to look old. And I was crying behind the camera because I was determined that she should look her age. It was because she always smiled in her photographs that I didn't want her to smile.